I'm a multi-published model, but you're never gonna see me advertise the magazine covers that you'll see my image published on. Why is this the case? I'm Alice Antoinette, and if you don't know who I am, I'm a traveling freelance model, and today we're gonna talk about the animosity that I hold towards the magazine industry. If you find yourself interested in all things model photography related, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and with that, let's jump into the video. When I first started modeling, my biggest dream was to get published on the front of a magazine cover. I took a lot of my inspiration from magazine covers that I'd admired ever since I was a kid. I thought I wanted to be on a magazine cover, but I actually realized that what I wanted was something much more than that, because as I grew in the model photography industry, I realized what the magazine industry really is. Back in the day, magazines were one of the most highly reputable sources to get the latest updates on the most current models and photographers in the industry. In other words, if you were a model or photographer looking to expand your network, and if you wanted to get some recognition, magazines would be the optimal place for you to showcase your work. However, over the years, magazines have definitely changed their narrative. Magazines used to pay their creators to contribute to their columns and centerfolds, but nowadays, the tables have turned, and now magazines want the models and photographers to pay them. Let me explain. Magazines developed a reputation back in the day as being a substantial source for creatives to expand their network and to get noticed. Over time, magazines realized that they held such a high prestige in the industry that one after the other decided to start charging models and photographers to be included in their publications. And what's really interesting is with the rise of the internet and being able to access models, photographers, and other industry creatives through social media, the great downfall of magazine sales began. Sales plummeted for even those largest scale magazines since information was so easily accessible through the internet by this time. Little do many models and photographers know that magazines are now charging creatives on the premise that the publication will help expand their network and gain them further popularity, only to be creating a magazine that's actually going to be turned around and resold to the creatives that paid and contributed to its existence. And to top it off, almost anyone can start a magazine. So not only are you paying and granting your image rights to another entity, usually another singular person, not this big network that they claim to be, magazines are also taking advantage of its creators by charging them for a copy of the publication that they contributed to. It's just mind-boggling to me that there are so many people that are still in the dark about magazines becoming outdated, and even more alarming that they're willing to pay for a magazine instead of being paid for contributing. What's so much worse is that there's many mainstream magazine companies that are now profiting off of their old prestige. There's one company in particular that ended up starting a chain of events for other magazines to follow, the paying for votes system. The magazines will hold contests for its contributors, usually models or photographers, telling them that if they sign up to their contest, then they have the chance at winning the cover of the magazine. And all they have to do is get the most votes of any other contestant. The scammy part about this is that these magazines are selling their votes, so these contests aren't conducted fairly. How far a contestant gets in the polls is not based off their popularity, it's based on how much money that contestant can generate for that magazine. So not only will the magazine make sales to the models and photographers who are contributing, but they also make a ton of money off of the voting sales. Another scammy practice that magazines will do is that they'll use their branding to their advantage, sometimes tricking its creators into thinking that they're going to get a magazine publication, only to have their work placed in a whole different sector of the company. This has definitely happened to me a few times within different companies, and this is why I no longer work with those companies. So if you know who I'm talking about, then you know. Models and photographers, please do your research before submitting your work to just any old magazine. If anything, it should be free to submit, and you should get a free copy back once you have your work published. If you're fortunate, the magazine should pay you for your work. If you're seeking credibility and potentially more popularity in the industry, magazines aren't the place for that anymore. The best place to market yourself and to get your work out there is honestly just through social media networking and attending in-person networking events. I wish I could say the specifics on the companies that I'm particularly getting at in this video, but if you know who I've worked with, then you could probably take a good guess. And the best thing that I can tell you to do is to always reference check opportunities before committing to them. In other words, if you're a model who's looking to become a part of a big brand or to get yourself published into a magazine, check with other models who have been included in that magazine publication recently and see how their experience was. I mentioned the word recently, like within the last year or two, because their experience might be significantly different than someone who submitted their work 20 years ago. There are so many companies that are just riding off of their outdated prestige, and they're no longer the same companies that they used to be. Remember, the more research you can do for a company's current statistics, the better off you're gonna be, and you'll be saving a lot of time and money in the long run. And so that concludes the topic on how I feel about publications of magazines and the whole gamut. If you found this video insightful, feel free to give me a thumbs up. That way it pushes it out to other industry creatives, that way they're in the know. And feel free to subscribe if you'd like to know more about the model photography industry. And feel free to check out the description for more information about me and some of the projects I have going on, and other resources that you can use to learn from more about the model photography industry. And with that said, thanks again for tuning into today's video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.